but it's like really for you guys, I can't imagine, because that's someone who you guys idolize every single day of you guys' life. And if anyone wants to openly share about,
start us off, Ahmed.
Oh, this episode is definitely dedicated to the man, for sure. Since I watched basketball, he was the guy. You know, it was MJ, and then this young guy who just came by storm, taking the league, right? So ever since I was a kid, he was the guy. So everything I've done in my life, I've always related it to the people that I idolize, and try to watch what they're doing, and try to instill those kind of characteristics in my own character. So this podcast, the things that I've done, the risks that I've taken, is dedicated to an idol like that. I mean, there's so many guys that I could give credit to, but he's definitely on the top of that.
So what was it about him that stood out for you? What was it specifically about Kobe that just like made you idolize him? And
the work ethic, the mentality he brought, basketball was everything. The obsession was really what got me, because I was obsessed with basketball when I was a kid, and I was always in that mindset of keep working, you'll get to that point and to play, professional. But then when, things started to change, you grow up and you start switching gears and you realize that that's not going to be your path. You see, okay, I can still take that obsession and just channel it into all these other things in my life. The characters just being hard, just the way he would act during games, and the things he would do just as a personality. From what I've seen, I was really obsessed with just the way he was. So, yeah.
And so for you, it would have been, because we're a little bit older. So for us, I know it would have been Jordan. So, but for your generation, it would have been Kobe.
Yeah.
Like
There are multiple guys, but yeah, Kobe was definitely there. Yeah.
Kobe would have been your guys' Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
definitely agree.
you guys can share too. Yeah.
Go for it.
Like what Omid said, just the fact of how obsessive he was on everything, especially moving so often. It was really hard to understand like how to make friends at such a young age. So when you would see different things, like I used to be on YouTube holding down space bars, slowing everything down, because that was the only way you could have slow motion, to like break down exactly what he's doing, hear different stories about him. And then as I grew up a little bit more, it was more so like for us, for example, our parents have completely different paths than the paths that we've chosen. So for me, the way I always saw it was, although he's not my father, he's a very big father figure from afar.
Okay.
So my dad, I love my dad to death, but he doesn't understand the path that I'm taking the same way as Kobe might, or as like an influential person in that realm might. So to me, I saw it as like as someone who's giving me advice from afar, and I'm able to learn things and apply them directly to what I wanted to do. So it was definitely sad in that aspect too. It kind of felt like a lot of the things, even like most people, actually, I was talking to Kenny about this. Most people don't know this story at all. Actually, no one knows this story. Is when I first started playing basketball, I used to wear number 3 because I loved Allen Iverson. I loved Dwayne Wade. Everyone knew why I was wearing number 3. People were like, oh, you're trying to be like D Wade, you're trying to be like Allen Iverson. And I kind of felt like I had a chip on my shoulder. As I got older, I was like, I'm never going to be Allen Iverson. I'm never going to be D Wade. I just want to be, like, I don't want to be them. I want to be me. At the same time, I still wanted to rock the number, because obviously you want to rock your favorite player's number.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then I switched to number 8 because of Kobe in high school. I'm like, high school starting, fresh start, number 8's the number. Then everyone's like, oh, like, are you trying to, like, you're shooting a lot, you think you're Kobe. I'm like, I'm just trying to be me. And that was the biggest thing, was I wanted to be me, but I loved Kobe at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be like him. Like, I study him. So what people don't know is Kobe's basketball number for Team USA was number 10. And I saw that, and I was like, I could be Kobe, and no one would know. Like, my heart is still, like, driven towards him. I can still feel connected in that, like, player and role model type of role.
Yep.
And no one knew. So that's the reason I chose 10. And no one's ever known that about that till this day, which is kind of.
Was he the first player to go directly from high school into the league? Like, had anyone done that before him?
I think there's many that did do that at that age.
Okay. I
Kevin
wasn't
Garnett.
sure. I'm like,
Kevin
was
Garnett
okay.
was
Yeah.
the same era.
And then
Yeah,
so
and
they
I think
both
that
went. Okay.
I don't remember for sure, but I think it was 1 year before.
Okay. So yeah, I just wasn't sure. I'm like, was he
So
the
it
first?
had been done, but he was one of the early.
Because I
early
remember
adopters.
LeBron saying that he was
2004.
partly the reason. Like originally, he was going to go and do his 1 year at college, and then when
Yeah.
he saw Kobe go directly from high school to the league, like he was, for him, it solidified that that's what he wants to
Yeah.
do too.
That following year was the year 2004 is when they made that change rule
Yeah.
of 1 year mandatory to go to college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raj?
I mirror what Omid said. Kobe is an inspiration to a lot of us and to others across the world. I think like the news of today is bigger than sport. It's bigger than grieving. It's going to impact like a lot of people. Some of them will be athletes. Some of them will be attached to the sports world. Some of them will just have known Kobe as a father or as a creator or as a basketball icon or as a work ethic obsession guy. He will have connected to different communities in different ways. I'm the same age as Kobe was when he passed, so my fandom of him is a bit different because the aches and pains that he went through in his 30s and later part of his career, there's a higher level of empathy for that. Yeah, but I think like the biggest thing is he's an inspiration. He's an icon because he's an inspiration. Like what you said is, I worked hard and he was one of my influences, and you kind of mirrored the same, and all of us feel that way. Yeah. So the inspiration, losing an inspiration is always hard, and we'll grieve, and the community will grieve. I think what's going to happen is, because of what's happened, he will become even more iconic. Like we talked with a couple of you guys earlier today about Pac, Biggie, Nipsey Hussle, Aaliyah.
Oh, yeah.
Like when these people pass away, Michael Jackson, when they pass away, they were already iconic. They were already successful. And then our narrative of them changes because now we can't have them anymore. So we only have to look back, right? So when we look back, we try to attach ourselves to something about them.
Yeah.
So the narrative changes, our memory changes, our emotion changes, and they become even more iconic. So it'll be interesting to see, number one, like this next week here, like the world and LA itself, when the funeral happens, you know, the public of LA is probably going to flood the streets, and there's going to be a big event. And it'll be interesting to see, like in 5 years, like Giannis and the players that are coming up now, what they remember and what they say, and you know, what kind of tributes are made. Right now there's going to be heavy tribute because it just happened. It's fresh. We're going through grieving. 5 or 10 years from now, we'll see what happens. But people still listen to Pac, and it's still influential. People, it's like a big deal, right? And it's not a big deal because the music is amazing. The music is amazing, but it's not. That's not the reason it's a big deal.
Yeah.
The reason it's a big deal is because of some memory or some experience that you had, some nostalgia. So that'll be interesting to see. Like when you're, 10 years from now, if you're still playing, you're still going to remember your influence, right? Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Think about that. So it's bigger than sport. It's just a huge deal. Lose an iconic inspiration. And the other sad thing is his 13-year-old daughter was with him. So that's
So sad, man.
that probably makes all of us feel queasy. I feel queasy hearing that, like knowing that a young person with much of her life ahead of her had an accident. It happens, it sucks, but it's shitty. It makes you feel queasy. And to go with your dad, it hurts more, and there's siblings left behind. So I can only imagine what they feel like. It's shitty.
Yeah, when I first heard, I heard about Kobe, and then when you heard about his daughter, and immediately I just and I don't know why I thought this. I'm like, because let's just say it had just been Kobe, and I'm like, when there's a death of a mother or a father, and that it's gonna take time, and with the proper healing and whatnot, more often than not, the families will get. And then when I heard it was the daughter, I'm like, I just don't even if you're that I'm thinking about
if
Vanessa.
you're the one left behind.
Immediately the first person I thought of was being I thought of Vanessa, his wife, and I'm like,
I thought the
number
same.
one, to lose Kobe, that in and of itself, and then the daughter, and I'm like, I mean, just think about it.
Parents
If you
should not
lost
have to. Parents should not have to bury their child.
Oh, and I just
It's a
thought,
very
I said, me and my sister were talking, so
unnatural.
my sister lives in LA, And she's like, Susan, like the whole, because I mean, he played, now it's just so uncommon, like for a
Yeah.
NBA player
20
to spend
years.
his entire, like,
Career,
he might
yeah.
have been one of the like last few to do that. And
That's
she's
true.
like, Susan, like this city is just in shock.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
mourning everywhere you go, like that's, and if that had happened to another player, I just don't think it would have that impact on a
Magnitude,
particular
yeah.
city, not to take away from other players. But yeah, I just thought, I'm like, will the wife get like just that double whammy? And honestly, my heart just, I said a prayer for her and her girls, and I'm like, I don't know how you get through like the double whammy, and it just, oh
Yeah.
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 Not a great start to 2020. That's,
Yeah.
There's been some
But
tragedies.
I do want to
for sure.
offer a different. I want to share a perspective on this, and it's. So he's 41 years old, and you think relative. So unlike Pac, so Pac died at 25, 26,
26,
right?
yeah.
So Pac still like Pac, even though had put out amazing music and like had established a name for himself. I mean, at 25, like had Pac stayed alive, you can only imagine what he would have done. I look at someone like Kobe, and me and my sister were talking about this, and I said, and not specific to Kobe, but like if you're gonna die and die at 41, think about how much he accomplished in such a short period of time. Like he changed the face of basketball, what he did off the court. Like he lived out a lot of his potential, whereas someone like Pac, someone like Nipsey Hussle, like Biggie, like they were young, like the best was still ahead of them. Whereas Kobe, I'm like, if you're gonna have a circumstance where you're gonna, your time is up, and your time is up at 41. Like Raj, you're 41. Can you say you've done all that you've wanted to do? Like I just said to my sister, he did so much in 41 years of age. Like
Yeah.
it made me think of a couple of years ago, I had a friend who passed away from cancer, and she passed away from brain cancer at 40. And I never forgot this. Like her mother, when she was like on her dying days, and her mom was like crying and everything. And she's like, Mom, like, don't cry for me. She's like, I'm 40 years old. And she's like, I did everything I ever wanted to do. And it was interesting that she was a pharmacist by trade. And a couple of years before her passing, her dream was to open up Cycle Bar. She gave up, like she walked away from pharmacy, opened up the Cycle Bar. She's like, everything I wanted to do. She's like, I wanted to get married. I wanted to experience motherhood. I wanted to like leave farm. She's like, I did everything I wanted to do. She's like, how many 40-year-olds do you know that can say that? And when her mom shared that story, I'm like, very few. And then I don't know why I thought of that story today when I thought of Kobe.
Yeah.
I'm like, think of what he did at 41. Like, there are not a lot, like...
41 is still so
Yeah,
young.
there are not a lot of 41-year-olds out there who accomplished as much as he did. And he probably, like, he lived out his potential. He probably had more to go, but crossed
Yeah.
off. And I just thought, like, he accomplished a lot in 41 years.
Yeah,
so.
and I really relate to what he was doing after
Yeah,
basketball too.
yeah, that stood out to me,
because
yeah.
he was going into
Mamba
producing,
Academy, yeah.
and he was going in. He built a studio.
Yeah.
He had animators.
He won
Like
an
I watched
Oscar.
Yeah.
I watched every interview of his, and he
Yeah.
was like, "I'm building a team of storytellers, animators,
Yes.
filmmakers," and I was like, "Man, like
He was ready to do
I'm
so much
I'm
more.
already doing this on such a small scale." And it's like,
But he got to live out a lot of
Oh,
his
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
even
100%.
changing, like, I mean, he changed
Yeah,
the face
no.
of basketball. And just
Yeah.
thought, like, there's not a lot of people who would die at 40 or who would pass away at 41 having accomplished what he accomplished in, like, 41 is such few years. So not like to say that that's
Yeah.
positive side or anything, but I thought about that
It's a different
today.
perspective. for
Yeah,
sure.
a different. And it made me
Deepa
just
said the
think.
same thing.
Yeah, like it made me think of my friend when she just said like everything I wanted to do, I got to do, and not a lot of 40-year-olds could say that. And I thought, well, isn't like that's just awesome that she felt that way.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I'm really glad Susan actually talked about obviously the family, but
Yeah.
what really strikes a chord for me is his two youngest daughters, and it's like they're gonna live a full life with never realizing
Knowing,
how big of an impact their
His
father
youngest, I
made
think,
on the
was born in
world, on
September.
Yeah.
basketball. But what I'm glad that's gonna happen for the two young daughters is the fact that they could search up their dad and find so many bits and pieces of
Yeah.
him that they can see through
Yeah.
that how powerful of a human being he is, but
Another thing
Yeah.
worth mentioning, because I know like Kobe is like there. I think as of like this afternoon, they were saying there were 9 passengers. So like our hearts and prayers and everything
To
go
everyone,
all.
yeah.
Like there were 9, and I feel like Kobe and his daughter, obviously because they're well known. Like I don't want those two to overshadow the other 7.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
also
everyone else,
passed away in
absolutely.
that.
thoughts go out to everyone on
So-
that helicopter. And it's sad because that's a regular occurrence he made in his life. He was on that helicopter often. I don't know if it's that exact one.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Commute.
It's like a guy with. It just goes to show, like, a guy with, like, endless amount of money that you can think of can still have anything happen to you at any point in time.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how rich you are.
Well, and think of it this way. In 20 years, how many times did he take that ride?
Yeah.
And I don't know where the destination was this time, but he was in that chopper many times a year.
Yeah. He had commercials in that chopper.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So the regular use of that chopper, and you know, it's. I mean, you know, we're kind of lucky that it didn't happen during his career.
Yeah.
It's still crappy, but happened after his career.
I think
The odds of it happening the day after.
How about
LeBron
that?
James.
How about that? He just got passed on the all-time scoring list from now the third to
timing
fourth.
is so weird, man.
They shared some mutual
is
respect.
and then
right?
the interesting thing is his last post was him. Like, and I actually was surprised. I didn't think Kobe would make that. Like, he's like, dude, can't wait to see you get to number 2, right? Like, I would have figured that he might be upset that James beat.
No.
And that was his very last post, is him congratulating LeBron James, saying, looking forward to seeing you hit that number 2 spot. And I was like, isn't that's like quite...
Mature.
Yeah.
Who's number 2?
I think it's Kareem. Is it Kareem Abdul?
Carl
Malone. Yes,
Carl
Kareem
Malone.
Abdul-Jabbar is
And then
number
Kareem's
1.
number 1?
Yeah.
Distant number 1?
pretty distant, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Sad
sad,
day.
but like you said, it's bigger than basketball. You know,
Yeah.
he's such a big name that that name is gonna live on in many different communities.
So I told Amaria today that this happened. And then she said, you know, she's kind of processing and she doesn't really know the stories that we know. She said, well, I know one boy in my class is going to be upset. I said, well, why? How do you know that? What makes you think that? He does this weird thing where he takes the crumpled piece of paper and he throws it and he goes, Kobe! Right?
You know what's funny?
That's awesome.
I have never taught Zane anything about Kobe. Right? He's been retired. Zane, if he's not interested in Kobe, Zane's my 10-year-old brother, for those that don't know. But even this past year, I remember he did the exact same thing at home. He's like, Kobe? I was like, who taught you that? He's like, I don't know. I just learned. I was like, no, who taught you
Is there a
that?
story behind that? Or I don't know. I'm like, okay, clearly there's a story between crumpled paper and
You just
he
know
loves
it's
to
going
shoot,
in.
right? He loves to
I
shoot.
know, but
And then he would always go in. So
okay.
like, people in offices all over the world are taking crumpled up pieces of paper, tossing them in a garbage can,
Okay.
and they say Kobe.
Okay.
Right?
Even when you're playing, like mentally, I used to say it all the time because you're shooting with confidence in that aspect.
Okay.
Is if you're saying Kobe, you're thinking it's going in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I say Omid.
yeah.
Doesn't have that nice
It sounds.
Kaderi.
I love how you tried to make it sound cool.
That's way more spice, man.
That's jokes.
I love that.
Aw.
Well, thank you all for sharing, guys. I really wanted that. I know how important of a human he was to all of us, and especially to you guys, because you guys live vicariously through that man. You know, so shout out to Kobe. This one's for him and Gigi.
GG.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Any last words, guys, before we wrap up? Okay, so here's how we're going to wrap it up. You guys know the slogan. We live by the slogan. We're going to get... Can we do it with 5 people? No, we can't do it with 5.
Let the people that aren't on
Yeah, I
do
love
it.
that. Thank you.
Okay.
So you guys know when we're on the second floor, we
Right,
talk
let's
about
talk about
how to...
Survive.
How to...
Keep the good vibes alive.
Thrive.
All right, Susan, it's over.
Didn't realize.
Just kidding. We'll go
You're not
again. We'll
allowed
go
to
again.
join the team anymore. Thrive and keep it. Yes, sorry.
This is our first time doing this, but we'll ease it in.
Survive, thrive,
We'll ease
keep
it
the
in.
good
No
vibes
problem.
alive.
All right, cut it out
No,
there.
we're not gonna cut it. It's all raw. It's all raw.
Yeah, let's redo it.
So you guys know when we're on the second floor podcast, we love to talk about how to
thrive
and keep the good vibes
Alive in life and in.
business.
Business, baby.
Yeah.
That's a wrap, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
My favorite part was when Susan was like, "Oh, are we filming?"
No, because somebody said, "Okay, guys, get ready." Like I was expecting, all right, cut. Yeah, exactly. Dude,
Controlled
you guys
chaos.
have done this before. This is my first time. I needed to be like, you know.
You were better off not.
Oh my god!
That's why I said relax. The moment you realized that it was live, she was like, she did this. She was like,
The voice change.
No, but I've been told, like, obviously, because when you're from shooting, like, you want to have a straighter back.
Oh,
so you
yeah.
look more. It was more. No, it wasn't being
No, I
professional.
know.
I just want to look like.
mine was too.
I'm vain. I want to look.
So funny.
I'll have to go back and look at it as soon as Susan got taller, all the rest of us got taller.
Yeah.
The entire crew
I
got
felt too
taller.
low here. I had to go up on the wall. I was like, oh shit, what's
Kenny's
happening?
like, I'm in